was checking the schedule kanina of our past episodes. It hasn't even been a year since I last.
Yeah, because that was just a few weeks after my release on bail. November yung aking ano. So it was just a few weeks after that. So wala pang 1 year.
Does it feel like it's only been a year, or does it feel like I can't believe it's been a year?
I can't believe it's been a year.
Ako, nag-level up ako since then. Nakita niyo naman, mas malaki ngayon yung set ko. Wala na tayo sa maliit na kwarto.
Yeah.
But what about you? In the past year, how has it been for you?
I've really been so busy that I thought it was I would have more time, private time, personal time, family time. But no, just for the first few weeks, yes. But after that, all engagements, all sorts of engagements, I couldn't say no. And I felt that, because people, I could see it in some mga events na pinupuntahan ko. They're always interested when I start telling my story, sharing my story, my journey, then how it all happened, how it started, and then my life inside detention. People are interested about that. Yung mga pusa, yung sa hostage taking, yung mga ganon. Sa pagdating, mapapansin ko yan, lalo na pag sa mga universities, colleges, if I start talking about it, all ears, all eyes dun sa story ko, and then even sa mga Q&A. It's always that they want me to, they always ask me to narrate my ordeal. So, and I like it. Nakaka-interact ako. I like it because one of my greatest fears nung nasa loob ako is people would forget about me and for the causes that I was fighting.
Were you surprised how much people were aware?
Yeah, not really surprised. But I could feel it. Parang overwhelmed ako dun sa nakita ko. Because everywhere I go nga.
Why? Because you felt, you assumed, or you felt forgotten?
Assumed. I just assumed. I wasn't sure. Because the extent of the vilification.
Yeah.
Malaking bagay yun. Many people believed all those lies. So I thought talagang there would be a noticeable level of hostility from the general public.
And when you came back out, when you started speaking with people again, not just in speaking engagements, kasi those are audiences who obviously want to listen to you. But when you go around, you were surprised by how much people, let's say of certain sectors, actually, were praying for you, remembered you, were pulling for you. But when you meet everybody else, were you surprised by how much people believed or did not believe the campaigns against you?
Not really. Because I know that many people are sensible, that many people are still thinking human beings, and many people have the capacity for sympathy and empathy. And so
let me rephrase lang. So just so the context is correct. You were also afraid that many people would believe, diba? Something that I always heard, even amongst friends and journalists, yung pangwawakwak, diba? Ng reputasyon nyo. Diba? The tirades and really the vilification, as you said. You were afraid na dumikit yun, na effective yun. And when you came out,
it was not the general. It was not my personal observation is it's not that pervasive. I mean, it's just a small segment. At least so far, wherever I go. I mean, in the malls, in the market, in the groceries, in the restaurants, strangers. No, these are not, as you said, captive audience. It's not an event, but they approach me, and some become also emotional. they would also cry. They would cry and then embrace me. We prayed for you. We feel you. So not pervasive enough. So the hostility that was created because of the very high level of persecution, the vilification, especially the slut shaming. Yes, it was felt the first 2 years in 2016 and 2017 at the height of the vilification from Duterte himself. But perhaps they saw, and then when they saw how I handled everything, how I comported myself, still with dignity, uh, and they saw that I was really a fighter. So maybe they started doubting what they believed. And so in the end, many became converts, from non-believers and even haters, I think, to believers. Although there are still haters, you cannot help it. There would always be haters and bashers.
And fast forward now, I mean, almost little less than a year. We're recording this as we're in the middle, or actually, we just ended the filing of certificates of candidacies.
Yes.
For all the positions for the 2025 elections. You have filed party list, no?
Yes.
Yeah, for the House of Representatives. But as those months wore on, I imagine a lot of people were in fact asking you, oh, Senator, tatakbo ba kayo?
Yes, in fact, ganon. Initially, I did not have any plans. I was telling people about it, even during events. I would say, I'm not a candidate. I'm not running. I'm just here just to share my story. I just want to interact with people. And I was accompanying the original nominees of the ML, so former Congressman Ted Bagilat and former Congressman Erin Tanyada. They were the original nominees. Nominee number 1 was Ted. Nominee number 2 is Erin. So we were introducing ML to the people.
ML is Mamamayang Liberal.
Yes, we decided to adopt that ML, especially for the youth, the Mobile Legend, and all, and para mas madali, kasi medyo mahaba-haba ang Mamamayang Liberal. So we were introducing ML to the people. And then the Political Education Forum, we were discussing about issues and at the same time introducing ML to the people. So I was helping them out, raising awareness about that party list, because it's a newly registered party list just last July, although it's been in existence already for several years, only as a sectoral group, but not as a party list, officially party list. So in the course of interaction with people, many would approach me. Tatakbo ho ba kayo for Senate? Sana bumalik kayo sa Senate. They always mention Senate. They never, because I was also saying that I'm not a nominee of the party list. So I felt that there's still that clamor for me to go back to public service, elective post. And then we were discussing it within the party, we're discussing it within the Mamamayang Liberal, and the consensus was that since Mamamayang Liberal is a new party list, that it has to start strong. And it has to be, how it is also in our electoral system, that it's more personality based. No matter how you try to introduce, no matter how you divert the discussion into the discussions of platform, they would also look at you as a personality, how credible you are as a public figure, how you are perceived by the people as a public figure. So that we wanted a strong start for the ML, because there is a competition. There are so many party lists, a lot of party list groups now, and precisely the introduction of ML into the party list system, the very objective of LP, putting up a sectoral wing, is to bring LP closer to the marginalized sectors.
Sino yung marginalized sector nyo?
Several.
The liberals.
That is always a joke.
Minority na marginalized.
Yeah, and that is painful for the LP. But we have to see that is becoming to be the perception. And that is why we have to do something. And one way is through the sectoral, sectoral groups, because we do have sectoral groups na kaya nga nag-form nitong ML na to several years ago. So, yun ang parang na ano. And I was thinking, kung sasabak talaga ako ulit sa politika, yung advocacies naman, whether it's the Senate or the House of Representatives, you can present it. Maybe there's a difference between the environment, because the Senate is smaller and then the House of Representatives is bigger, and you can call it the jungle. And then, of course, what is happening now, sometimes you do not know also the difference.
Binibiro ko lang kayo sa liberal, pero hindi ko lang kayo binibiro. Totoo naman. But sell me not on your party list, but sell me on the party list system. Because that question is in fact coming from, may pinanggagalingan naman talaga yan. I think, on the one hand, to be fair, I think kaya nagdagsaan din ngayon ng interest sa party list. To the point na mas mataas na yung quota ngayon, di ba? To get a seat, di ba? It used to be 250,000.
Yeah. We can expect it's higher because there will be higher
because more
number.
people are voting for party lists.
Yes.
And I think tumataas because there's genuinely a moment for party lists in the past months. People have seen how they were fiscalizers at the House. Parang, tatapang pala nitong mga, di ba? They can bring up issues. They're not...
So they're good materials
meron,
within the
diba?
party list.
Yes, but on the other side of it is, of course, yung paring alam ng mga tao na hindi na to, this is no longer the original mandate. These are no longer sectoral groups.
Yes.
These are no longer marginalized sectors.
Yes.
It's way out in the open. In fact, it's official. Anybody can field, even a traditional party like the Liberal
because it's
Party.
It's recognized.
Yeah, exactly.
The national political party can participate in the party list elections through
but
a sectoral way.
Yes, you're participating, and I'm sure you would make a great difference there. But talk about the party list system. Right now.
As conceptualized, the party list system is supposed to be a beautiful system, representation of marginalized sectors. That's the very essence. And then inclusivity, and then empowerment of the marginalized sectors. It's just that along the way, it has been bastardized. Along the way, talagang na hindi na natin na-appreciate yung tungkol dyan sa sectoral representation, because we hear, and there are in fact, party lists now that is put up by political dynasties. It's an extension of their political power, especially at the regional level. And there are also party lists with big business interests behind. And so nalalagyan ng hindi magandang pangalan at imahe ang party list. But precisely that's one also of our, one motivation on the part of ML. And I think that's also true with respect to other party lists like Akbayan. Akbayan party list has a good track record about that representation. And we want to be like that also, the ML, the mamamayang liberal. So pagkakataon na namin ito, more progressive-minded or reform-oriented groups participating through the party list route. Because, resource-wise, walang kalaban-laban dun sa mga nagbavie for the senatorial post. And can you imagine if there are enough of us, there are more of us sa grupo namin, yung mga allied groups, that would gain seats in 2025. So we can be a force to be reckoned with. Na kami ang magiging parang true minority, genuine. And you know how it is also about the minority system in the House of Representatives. Yung mga nagiging minority, hindi naman talaga sila mga tunay na mga minority. But with a block like that, mainly from the party list groups, then siseryosohin natin ngayon yung fiscalizer status and role of the minority.
May I just say that your energy now, sabi niyo nga, wala man akong balak tumakbo, bigla-biglaan to. But your energy now, certainly when we first talked, and as we said, that was just a few weeks after you were released from years of detention under the Duterte administration. But your energy now really feels like, you're up, you're ready for this campaign.
Yes, I realized that also.
I think this is what people were referring to when they said, tatakbo po ba kayo, Senator?
Maybe nakita na nila yon na kahit may alinlangan ako, nag-aano ako na hindi. Maybe they saw that in me already, that I can have the right energy and the determination to again, be there in the political arena. And minsan nagugulat din ako sa sarili ko. Na when I wake up, parang I feel so energized, I feel so motivated and inspired. Although there are a lot of mga, naku, what if? And then another is, naku na mabubuhay na naman yung mga bashers ko. And you heard the former president na naman, ako na naman ang naisip niya. But I tried to prepare myself psychologically for that. Because the energy is there.
Yeah.
That's the sign. That's kasi kung hanggang ngayon, ganun pa rin ako, nag-aalinlangan, then I might as well not really, di na sana ako umuo dun sa mga kasamahan ko.
Pero it wasn't even alinlangan that I wanted to talk about. I'll be honest with you. Where my question was coming from is when we spoke little less than a year ago, and you could see, obviously you're happy, you get to spend time with your family. But when people ask me, how was she? How did it feel? And I mean, may balak ba siyang bumalik sa sabi ko, alam niyo, kakalabas niya lang ng preso, ng kulungan. And I tried to put myself in your shoes. And I was like, I can understand if anybody goes through that and emerges saying, you know what, I just want a quiet life. I could completely understand. And I was thinking, feeling ko, I will understand if that's what if this is how she emerges from this. People said, even in the months, she looked mellow. Parang nag-mellow si Senator De Lima, di ba? And whether they meant that in a positive, appreciative, or just different light, I think people were giving you that. Nobody goes through that.
Yes. So, some people said exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
We will understand you if you choose a quieter life, go back to practice or go back to teaching or just your advocacies, but without really being involved in the political arena. So I appreciate that from people who told me about it. Na okay ka lang, pag-isipan mo yan ng gusto. Kaya mo pa ba uli na bumalik? Kaya mo pa ba saluhin na naman yung mga ibabato sa'yo? Kaya mo pa ba yung mga magiging challenges mo? Although ang ano ko naman, at the other side would be I have a narrative now. I have a story now. A completely unique story. No one else would have that kind of story, but I went through everything else. So if I do not become active in public life and primarily an elective position where there is a higher level of engagement in various, in discourses on issues, baka after several years, people would forget about my story, my narrative. While my story is fresh, while my story is worth sharing, then I might as well seize that opportunity. And the idea of service and the idea of, nandyan makakasama ko uli yung mga ganun, mga also pushing for good governance, for accountability, mga anti-corruption, and then honest-to-goodness reforms sa justice system natin, and then yung about social and economic justice, environmental justice, yung mga ganong causes that I'll be contributing my experience, my knowledge, and my my being, because that's me. My image as a fighter, my image as no nonsense, especially when it comes to issues of justice and accountability, then people would see it and people would appreciate it. So yun ang naano ko eh. So a quiet life or a more fulfilling life. I'm not getting any younger also. I just turned 65 last August. So why I still can, and why while people still appreciate and understood and appreciated my sacrifices for almost 7 years for standing up against a tyrant, then I'm offering myself.
A big part of your narrative is in fact backdropped by that tyrant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, people appreciate you for who you are, but the reality also is that people appreciate this chapter in your life, something that people will always be talking about in the context of Duterte. You know?
Yes.
You look at the Dutertes now, and they're going through another chapter in their political clan's life
Mm-hmm.
also.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at that, not just as a politician, but as a Filipino and somebody who's been victimized, by how politics is weaponized, by how government is weaponized. At a time in particular when people felt that Duterte changes everything for good. I mean, for not for good as in for the good, but forever. Diba? This is now how politics is also always going to be.
So much
But
damage.
but in so short a time, you look at where they are now, so vulnerable, so weak. They might lose Davao. They can't even field at the Senate, diba? Sara Duterte might get impeached, um, and the unit team is no more. But when you look at that now, what do you think? I mean, how do you feel, or do you spend any time thinking about Duterte?
Oh, but all of this is happening is actually part of my vindication. I see it as part of my vindication that finally there's unraveling of the truth about how Duterte governed so badly, how Duterte destroyed our institutions, how Duterte destroyed the psyche of our people. So now, with all of these revelations about their involvement, of course, in the killings and in corruption, and yung how how they uh, pursued the foreign policy, the pro-China foreign policy. Uh, they just treated our historical the milestone victory at the Hague, the Court of Arbitration, the Permanent Court of Arbitration. So it's now, so finally, the truth is coming out. Finally, you can see that really power is just fleeting, that truth would always come out, that justice will always prevail. So that's why there's.
But is it justice that's prevailing or just politics that's prevailing? Is it just politics that keeps other politicians in check? Because people, like for example,
Yes.
we talk about the ICC and people saying that no, I can't imagine Duterte getting arrested. Maybe he's happy being in his room at home. I mean, let's face it, he's not gonna go abroad.
Mm-hmm.
And to that end, we all anticipate and fear the limits of justice and the limits of the law. And then when we look at the come-uppance, we're really just looking at Marcos, the politics of the unit team, the politics of other political clans, and so on. So
Definitely.
is it justice that's prevailing, or is it just the politics that keeps politicians that keep other politicians in
Definitely,
check?
the politics is there. Definitely, politics is a primary factor. Now, why all these things are happening while these revelations are coming out? Because can you imagine? I mean, during the last, if it was during the last administration, no witnesses, no mga whistleblowers would come out. Hindi yan lalabas into the likes of Kerwin Espinosa. Hindi lalabas yung mga nag-testify against kina Garma and all that. So because of the, maybe it's really part of it's something that just happened, that all things just fell into place. that we now have this House of Representatives suddenly emboldened and then shining, and there are individual lawmakers there na making a mark, appearing to be impressive. Although hindi naman talaga mawawalan yung mga grandstanding, and so politics is definitely a factor. Now, it really depends always on the leadership. It also depends on the environment. We have the environment now because of the breakup of the unit team that
and the aspirations on that side as well.
Yes,
Diba?
exactly.
Diba?
So nagkataon. It's just there.
Oh, pero yun nga yung kinakatakutan ko. Hindi naman kinakatakutan, but that's what leaves a taste in my mouth. Filipinos are, let's say, happy to see that at least merong nagbabago, at least may investigasyon, at least pinag-uusapan na ngayon, di ba? But they stop themselves from saying na at least yung sistema gumagana because I think we all understand it's not the system, or if we attribute it to the system, it's the political system.
It is.
And it is ultimately the aspirations of congressmen, of the speaker, the aspirations within one clan and another clan. And so people see reason to say, oh, this is interesting. But they hold back and they say that, but what will this look like?
Yes, a cautious
what
optimism.
will this look like 3 months from now?
Cautious
diba?
optimism.
Or 3 years rather.
Yes, and then after the 2025 elections, there might be some changes there. The dynamics, the complexion. So baka maiba na naman.
And you could that same system could still give rise to another despot.
Yes.
Diba?
Yes.
You could have another Leila De Lima 4 years from now. You could have another. Diba? Here, ang gusto kong tanongin sa inyo is, saan nyo hugutin yung, your optimism shines through, and your life, your chapter, your narrative is testament to why you have to have this optimism. Yeah, but you're going back to the same system that sent you to prison. Diba? That's the reality.
That's the reality.
You're joining the same race for the same system that at the end of the day sent you to prison.
Yes. I've always been trying to fight the system, even the justice system and then the political system. As much as I can, I would think that I've been doing in all the capacities, in all the official positions that I had, from CHR to DOJ and then the Senate. There are things that I do that can be seen as trying to reform the system. But of course, it's not enough. It's not enough at all. There are so many limitations, there are restrictions, there are factors. Now, yung na nangyayari ngayon, at least the feeling that you can actually make a change, you can make a mark working within the system rather from outside. You would have advantages while in the system. You have access to whatever it is, access to not really resources, but human resources perhaps, and then knowledge within the system, things that are happening within the system, so you can be more effective. Although you cannot really expect that you can do it by yourself, or you can do it by collaborating with few groups. It would never be enough. But when people would see that there is a force, no matter how small the force is, doing something and doing the right things, fighting for the right causes, then more people would also join in and would make it easier and facilitate that there would be significant reforms, but not that massive, perhaps. But it's just the building of democracy. It's brick by brick. Although ang tagal-tagal na nga natin.
Speaking of more people might be entering, more people are entering. And there's one particular group that I'm really interested in now. There seems to be a moment now for influencers, content creators.
Yes.
I'm really, really keen on seeing how they're going to perform. do they signal, you know, a change in the game? Or are they just the new celebrities? And mauuntog din ba sila katulad ng ibang mga artista na akala nila, kasikatan is enough, di ba?
As you said, it all depends on how they would perform. It all depends on how people would perceive them. It all depends on their motivations also. Motivations are always important. And people could see through, could feel who are the sincere ones, who are those who are doing it just for the sake of, gaining more popularity or some celebrity status. So perception importante rin yan. So let's see, but they can really be game changers.
Yeah. I mean, them individually, but also and as a sector, but the platforms definitely are already a game changer. Social media definitely.
Yes.
How's your TikTok game? How's your?
That's a challenge because alam mo, must be almost 7 years. I was denied access to all of this.
Yeah.
In fact, when I gained temporary liberty last November on bail, I had to relearn using these gadgets. I had to relearn even using my cell phone. Yeah, the basics of the use of cell phone, and then the use of meron akong tablet. I'm not really into the laptop. It's really tablet.
But before that, were you just like all of us? Were you a creature of social media? Were you?
No,
no,
I was not. I was semi illiterate.
Okay.
So, and that's why I recognize the importance of a good SOCMED team. And ML is coming up.
But
it's
you
forming.
can't. We'll get to that. But I'm curious. So you can't tell us. You don't actually have a frame of reference, because I was gonna ask. People talk about, digital detox. People talk about, staying away and then see how you feel, and then purge yourself of these addictions and these dependencies. But you were never there, so I can't actually ask you, how does it feel to be healthier?
No, but I'm just medyo nangangapa pa ako when it comes to those digital.
But you have a team around you that's helping.
Yes, there's an ML team. It's a small team, but they're passionate and dedicated, and young people.
Okay.
Young people.
And this is dedicated to ML.
ML.
This is different from the Chekibam team.
Yes, it's different. It's different. Yeah.
Hiwalay ito sa this is different from the Bayag di Bam team.
Oh, iba. Kay Kiko rin.
Okay.
But we support them both. They are our leading candidates for Senate. We would be supporting also others. But sa ngayon, sila.
Okay. I had to ask because I want to know, how much of a benefit of the doubt we will give you. Senator, do you think you're going to be enjoying this campaign? I mean, is that a good word when you run?
Yes, you have to enjoy it. You have to love it. Just like your work, any work you have. No, I shouldn't have accepted it. I shouldn't have said yes, although it was a last-minute decision after so much discernment and consultations. But if I'm not going to enjoy it, then what the heck? Why do it? I have to enjoy it, and I think I'm enjoying it.
What do you enjoy about it?
Interaction with people, and then listening to ideas and suggestions from the team, from the young people. I enjoy that a lot.
Is there a moment, is there an epiphany that finally pushed you over the edge and said, oh, okay, sige na nga, parang let's stop, let's stop wasting time, sige na nga, tatakbo na ako. I mean, is there anything that...
Not really. It's something that just built on because of the interactions with people. And it became more and more pronounced that, yes, perhaps, I need to go back to public life.
Have you had a conversation with President Marcos since you were released?
No. The only conversation we had was when I was taken hostage, right after the hostage-taking incident in October 9, 2022. Right after the incident, then Secretary Benher Abalos, is no longer secretary, visited me about 2 hours after the incident. And then he handed over to me his phone, his cell phone, and he said that. And then the next thing I knew, President Marcos was on the other line. Kinumusta niya ako. He got so worried. He sounded so sincere. And he was worried. And then nagulat siya na akala niya it was just an attempted hostage taking. So he was shocked when he learned that it was an actual hostage taking, and he was more shocked when kasi pinakwento niya sa akin, kung kinikwento ko sa kanya kung paano ako, I was blindfolded, and then my hands and my feet were tied, and the hostage taker was constantly pressing the improvised knife on my chest. He sounded so sincere, and he offered to transfer me. He said that we can transfer you. If you want, we can transfer you to a safer facility. But if you don't, if you prefer to stay there, we will beef up your security. And true enough, they beefed up my security. So that's the only time. After that, or after my release, no more.
And neither Malacanang nor your side ever reached out to the other side, and for whatever reason, you never felt that there was a reason?
No. Narinig ko lang na talagang gusto rin naman na ma-release ako. Because I think yung sa community, international community, I heard that every time the president went on a state visit or any foreign visit, there would always be side talks about, the kasama daw ako sa topic, that they always ask about my situation. Although his answer was, we have a working justice system. It's now the courts. We are not interfering with the courts, and that's good enough.
And both sides are happy to leave it at that. This is a court. This is the system working. This is the court system. That should get all the credit.
And I appreciated that. Hands off, because naniniwala naman ako ganun. If the justice system is just left alone, if our courts, our judges, and our justices are just left alone to do their job, their duty to deliver justice, then we can expect effective, fair and effective justice system as a general, in a general sense.
If you get to Congress, what's one reform that you think here's a simple reform, we can pass it, I don't think it's going to be that controversial, but it will have a profound impact on the justice system?
Ang ano lang kasi sa justice system, okay, of course, the delays are there. It's about the appointment of the right people. So the appointment process should be such that it is non-partisan, beyond political considerations, but purely based on merits, meritocracy.
Remind me of how political it is right now to appoint. I mean, give us,
we have the JBC. We have the JBC, Judicial and Bar Council. Several ang members niyan, and may ex-official members, including the Justice Secretary, including the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Justice and the House Committee on Justice. So, in the course of the deliberations, they come up with short lists. And syempre, especially dun sa political elements, and I'm talking about the representative of the Senate and the representative of the House, and then also even the Justice Secretary. Hindi maiiwasan dyan na may mga political considerations. May mga pinapakiusap yung mga district representatives, mga politicians. So there's room there for the easing out, nagiging subordinate na lang yung meritocracy. But if it goes through the right process that really purely merits and meritocracy, then we will have the right people in the judiciary, capable and also independent-minded members of the judiciary.
And you can improve on that with legislation, or is that a totally separate process?
We do not need actually legislation for that. And about the addressing the court delays, it's also the prime duty of the Supreme Court coming out with the right rules, and they've been doing that. The right circulars. It's just that may problema rin sa implementation.
Okay, then let me get back to my question. of you becoming part of the legislature, again, what do you look forward to championing and
Mhm.
pushing for by way of reforms
Mhm.
sa when you get to
Okay, ang plano ng ML is that because we're representing various sectors, we want to come up with major piece of legislation affecting each sector.
okay.
Now, yung sa IP, for example, kalakip niyan lagi yung environmental justice eh.
Yes.
Because for the IPs, the earth, nature is their life. So how to really preserve the nature and the ecosystem, the biosystem, so magtututok din kami sa environmental
Justice.
justice. And then sa urban poor, because sa urban poor nga nanggaling yung mga naging biktima ng drug war killings. And then how to really empower these sectors, the people empowerment. Ay, gusto ko ring itingnan uli yon. Yung, I think VP Lenny before, when she was a congresswoman, that's her pet bill, the people empowerment bill.
Mm.
And then, of course, the human rights aspect of it all, because human rights is always, kapatid naman yan ng social
Justice.
justice. So there's just some of them. It's a work in progress, yung talagang namin, yung legislative agenda, because we are consulting with these sectors. Kahit tig-isa lang sila na major piece of legislation. Kasi alam naman, legislative bill, mahaba rin yan, matagal din yan. So it's not a matter of, yung quantity. It should be quality of the bills over quantity. So importante, yung consultation process namin should be something that is proactive and genuinely being done na from the bottom up. That's the ideal. Bottom up. The sectors are supposed to be, sila yung haligi ng lipunan. So they need a stronger voice, stronger champions. Kaya maganda, nandyan din si Dean Chel. Nandyan si Chel Jokno. Maano rin yan sa sectors. So, nandyan yung mga, even the Makabayan Bloc, mga Gabriela, Kabataan Party List, yung ACT.
But these are all the same. What's ironic for me is these are all the same. You almost have to remind yourself that just like Leila De Lima, these are also a lot of the names that you mentioned and a lot of the groups that you mentioned are the very individuals, the very groups that over a span of 6 years were really vilified and really attacked, and that government genuinely tried to destroy. It's amazing on the one hand that hindi sila ganun kadaling patayin, 'di ba? Figuratively speaking, 'di ba? Maraming literally namatay, and yet the movements and the people kept just sprouting back up and standing back up. But you do have to remind yourself, diba, that this is a moment now when you obviously are getting excited. Look at this individual. Tumatakbo. Si Chel, may pagkakataon. No, look at Makabayan, look at Akbayan, look at all of these party list groups that are making a difference, and so on. So you have to remind yourself on the one hand that hindi sila, buhay pa tong mga to, and they're proving their worth and people appreciate it now.
Yeah.
At the same time that you have to remind yourself na, but they almost became irrelevant. Or there were forces that genuinely tried to stomp them.
Marginalize them.
Diba? And stomp them to death. And I'm just wondering what you would tell young people and young Filipinos when they remember now both sides of the reality of politics here in the Philippines.
So it's time for the joining of forces to strengthen each other and empower each other. The collective strength that can be drawn by the right people coming in and then working together. Kasi magkakatugma ang mga namin eh. Actually, if you closely examine yung agenda and yung platform ng mga grupo, yung mga grupo, halos puro-pareho yan eh. The similarity of causes is patently there. It's present. It's explicit na kung ano yung mga ipaglalaban. And also about fighting the enemies of democracy. Yung forces of democracy. Guarding always against any attempt to, a return to authoritarianism and then populism. So it's time for the joining of forces and strengthening our ranks para everybody would feel secure and everybody would feel strong about it. Na ayan, may mga iba pang grupo, sama-sama tayo dito lahat. So how can they destroy us if we're together?
Final question na lang po, at least habang kasama pa natin yung mga nakikinig sa atin. Do you think, it's been said so many times na democracy, human rights, rule of law, good governance, parang malayo naman sa bituka yan.
Yes.
Then what people really care about are, of course, jobs, livelihood, income, di ba? Prices. But do you think it's more valued and more tangible to people now, to the point that it is in fact now genuinely an election and campaign issue? Even after going through 6 years under Duterte, do you think that you know what they say, di ba? You need to almost lose something or lose something for you to appreciate it. And we went through that with Duterte. So do you think it's more tangible to people now what it means when you actually campaign on values, on democracy, human rights, rule of law?
That's part of the challenge. We realize that really people, yung mga sa bituka nga, the inflation, poverty, underemployment, lack of jobs, etc. And sa amin, sa ML, precisely, kaya gusto namin talagang lumapit sa mga marginalized sectors to make them understand na itong mga causes na pinaglalaban namin, even if it sounds so, it's something that is unreachable, yung mga causes ng justice, human rights, rule of law, democracy, and even national sovereignty, na akala nila malayo, but actually malapit. Kasi nga, kung nandyan ang good governance, at walang korupsyon, o konti lang ang korupsyon, hindi laganap, then mag-i-improve yung quality of life nila. Kasi mariresolve yung mga problema sa inflation and also sa kakulangan. Kasi nga, yung corruption yan talagang nagpapalala. So, related lahat yan. And then yung karapatan, kapag rinirespeto yung karapatan mo, lalo na yung karapatang pantao, then mas makakaano ka, mas ma-engage ka sa diskurso ng bayan, yung mga issues na yan. So, it's a matter of, siguro yung communication, yung how to, yun ang challenge sa amin yung paano maintindihan yan, na hindi yung mga highfalutin, hindi yung mga academic terms. Dapat yung maintindihan na itong pinaglalaban namin ng mga core values, ano yan
pang-araw-araw yan.
Integral yan sa buhay ng tao. Pang-araw-araw yan.
Kaya nasa TikTok si Chel Joke noon.
Kaya nga. So that's a very effective,
Yes.
Tama yun.
Well,
good.
Kaya po nang sinabi ko sa inyo, unfortunately, we only have 1 hour. At least with you. In this program. Pero habang may wine ako dito, I always take advantage when the cameras are off. Tuloy lang ang usapan namin. Kasama po natin, of course, hindi ko na kayo pinakilala. Dahil obvious naman, di ba? Senator Leila De Lima. At kung papalarin, Representative Leila De Lima, tumatakbo po under the party list of the marginalized liberals. Mamamayang liberal.
ML.
Mamamayang liberal. ML. Tandaan nyo lang ang Mobile Legends. Matatandaan nyo ang kanilang party list. Ma'am, maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat. Always a pleasure.
And let's not make it every year. Let's not make it an annual an annual conversation, but I always enjoy it. Maraming salamat po.
Same here.
And sa mga nakikinig po, thank you for joining us. This is Roundtable for Roby, Signal Channels 8 or 250 kung gusto niyo ng HD. Channel 250 sa Signal TV. We will also be posting this on YouTube. Hanapin niyo lang po ang Roundtable at saka ang Long Conversations. Ako po si Roby Alampay. Maraming salamat po.